Hi, I'm Bonnie Barker with BonnieBayCrochet.com, and today we're going to be doing another square from Around the World 3 2018 Crochet Along series. This is actually square number 17. For those of you who are wondering where all the other squares are, they're actually available as patterns on the Crochet Along website. And all that information, just look right down there in the description of the video, and you can find the patterns to the other 32 squares. There's not going to be videos for all of these, unfortunately, but this is one that I've designed, and I do have a video for this one. For this project, you're going to need a size H or number 8 or 5.00 millimeter crochet hook, and you're also going to need an I or 9 or 5.50 millimeter crochet hook, and we're actually going to be starting with the larger of the hooks today. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Just for the record, I am using a worsted weight yarn. I guess you could use whichever kind of yarn you would like, as long as you're using a consistent weight yarn for the entire project. Okay, to begin, we are going to chain 43. So I'm going to go ahead and begin my slip knot, and then we're going to chain 43. After I've chained 43, I'm going to work a half double crochet in the third chain. So 1, 2, the third chain from the hook, and I'm going to work a half double crochet in each chain across. So go ahead and work those half double crochets. After completing one row, you should have a row of half double crochets. Now for row number 2, we're going to chain 2 half double crochet in that first stitch. We're going to do this at the beginning of each row, by the way. Now we're going to work a front post double crochet, and we do this by wrapping our hook the way you normally would for a double crochet, and instead of working through the top loops, we're going to work around the stitch. The hook's going to go all the way around the body of the stitch, and you're going to give it a belt. Okay, and complete that double crochet as you normally would. And then we're going to do a back post double crochet. We come in the back door, go around the front of the stitch, and then out the side, pull up a loop, and then complete that double crochet the way you normally would. We're going to alternate these all the way across until you get to the last 2 stitches. Front post double crochet, and then back post double crochet, front post double crochet, and back post double crochet. And just for those of you who may think that I'm going a little too fast, I really am trying to go slowly. If this is still too fast for you, there's a little gear icon right at the bottom of the right side of your screen. And if you hit that, you can actually slow this video down to half speed, and I believe even slower than that should you need that. Okay, we'll go ahead and finish these front post and back post stitches all the way across until you get to the last 2 stitches of the row. Now that we've come to the last 2 stitches, we work a front post double crochet, and then we work a half double crochet working through the top stitches of that half double crochet that was first worked in row number 1. Okay, let's go ahead and turn, and this is what you should have. And let's go ahead and chain 2 for round 3, and we're going to work a half double crochet in that first stitch. Now we're going to start with a back post double crochet. We want to keep these ribbing stitches growing. So if it's a back post, you work a back post. If it's a front post or protruding from the front, work a front post double crochet. So we work back post double crochet and then front post double crochet, and go ahead and work this all the way across until you get to the last 2 stitches of the row. Once we get to the last 2 stitches of this row, we work a back post double crochet, and then we're going to work a half double crochet through the top loops of that half double crochet from the other row. Okay, now let's go ahead and take a look at what we have. Now for rows 4 through 7, we're going to repeat rows 2 and 3 2 more times. So go ahead and repeat those last 2 rows 2 more times, and then I'll show you row number 8. After working those 7 rows, this is what you should have. Okay, something that looks like this with the ribbing rows going vertically. Okay, now we're going to begin row number 8, which begins working the honeycomb, which will be about in the center of the square. Now the original square that I worked was worked with one solid color, but I'm going to introduce a different color, this lighter blue, for the center squares or honeycombs, just to see, you know, how that works. So I'm going to just kind of, you know, change it up just a little bit, but I am following the exact same pattern. If you want to make this a solid color, just keep following the pattern and ignore any of the color changes that I make. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 2 for the beginning of row number 8, half double crochet in that first stitch, just like we've been doing. Now we're going to front post, double crochet in the next stitch, and then back post in the next stitch. We're going to do that 4 times, or over a total of 8 stitches. So go ahead and work those over a total of 8 stitches. I'm going to show you how I'm going to change my colors. I'm going to pull the loop out of the last double crochet. So the double crochet is just completed. Well, let me go ahead and back out the entire stitch and I will show you. This is on the 8th stitch. Pull up a loop and then pull through 2. Now I'm going to leave this blue yarn in back. I am not going to carry it. I'm just going to leave it on the side. And I'm going to introduce this other blue in order to complete that double crochet, so that way I get a pretty good clean color change. Now the next part with the honeycomb cable, we're going to skip the next 2 stitches. Okay, so 1, 2, and we're going to front post treble crochet in the next 2 stitches. 1 and 2. Now working behind these 2 stitches, I'm going to front post treble in the next, or the 2 stitches that we skipped. It's a little bit tricky doing this for the first time, but once you do it for a few times, you can see you can just pull up those post stitches just like that. Okay, it's kind of like a cross, crisscrossing it backwards. Now for the next 2 stitches we skip, and then 1, 2, and then we front post treble in the next 2 stitches like this. Now I'm going to front post treble in the 2 stitches that we skipped, but I'm going to work in front of these 2 instead of working behind them like we did the first time. We're kind of making a very large V for the bottom of the honeycomb. Okay, so once you complete those 8 stitches, it should be like a V, go down and then up like that. Okay, now we're going to do that one more time to make another large V. Okay, skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2. Now working behind these stitches, I'm going to come in behind and then front post treble in the 2 stitches that we skipped. Sometimes it helps me to just have my thumb help this out so that I can see what stitch I'm actually working on. Okay. And now we do this the other half, skip 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2 stitches. Working in front of these 2 stitches, front post treble crochet in the 2 stitches that we skipped. Okay, now we're going to work another front post treble crochet, and this is what we should have so far. Now we're going to work an additional set, so there are going to actually be 3 across. So we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble crochet in the next 2 stitches. Again, working behind these 2 stitches, we are going to front post treble in the 2 stitches that were skipped. And skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2 stitches. And now, working in front of these 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in the 2 skip stitches. Okay, so we should have the beginnings now of 3 honeycomb, and this is a good time to make sure that these post stitches are going down and then up, down, then up, down, then up. This is really, really important. Now I'm going to back out this last loop just like this, because I'm going to go back to my dark blue color, and I'm actually going to introduce a new strand. Okay, now that I've got an additional strand of blue, the dark blue, I'm going to go ahead and change colors. Bring this to the back. Don't worry if this loop gets a little loose, because we are going to be working with it in just really just a short while. Now we're going to work front post double crochet, and we're going back to working the ribbing, and then back post double crochet. Do that over the next 8 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, actually 7 stitches, I'm sorry. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stitches, and then the 8th stitch is going to be the half double crochet worked in the top, just like this. Go ahead, chain 2, turn, and you should have the strands on the back side if you are working an alternate color for the center. We're going to start with a half double crochet in the first stitch. This is now working row number 9, and then we're going to start with back post double crochets. Remember, we're only going to have 7 of these post stitches. Front post, back post, I'm sorry, front post, there's the back post, and the front post, and now we have another back post double crochet and a front post double crochet. Now this is the next stitch we do. We're going to change yarn, so we do half of that stitch, put the yarn in front because you have the back side facing you, pick up the color changing yarn and pull it through. Now we're ready to work over the honeycomb stitches, and all we do is we are going to work back post double crochets all the way across for those let's see, 8, 16, 24 stitches. So 24 back post double crochets just worked straight across, just like this. Okay, so go ahead and let me show you the front of what's happening here. So this is going to help further define our honeycomb. After the next row, you'll see it a lot more clearly. So go ahead and work those 24 back post double crochets. On that last, or the 24th back post double crochet, after you complete half the stitch, put that yarn forward and then pick up the dark blue again from the other side and pull through, and then we're going to do the last 8 or next 8 stitches, front post double crochet, back post double crochet. And you know what to do after you do those 8 stitches, those post stitches. Then we're going to work a half double crochet right through the top, and that ends row number 9. So let's go ahead and turn and see what we should have. This is what we should have at the end of that. And I think I do like the contrasting colors a lot more than just the plain, but you know, do whatever you would like for your project. Now we're ready to start row number 10. we're going to start with a chain 2 and a half double crochet in that first stitch, which happens to be a half double crochet. And now we're going to front post and back post double crochet. So starting with the front post and then a back post. And we're going to do this all the way until we get to the honeycomb section. And that would make that 8 stitches going this direction. 7. And on this 8th stitch is where you're going to do half of the stitch, and then we're going to drop that strand and we're going to pick up the light blue. This work gets a little tricky sometimes working with multiple colors, but it's actually a much better way to work with these color changes so that you're not having to tie a bunch of knots and everything. Okay, so for this we're going to skip the first 2 stitches, work front post treble in the next 2 stitches. Now this is where row number 10 is different from row 8. Okay, working in front of these 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in those 2 skipped stitches. And we're going to do the opposite on this other side. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2 stitches. Now working behind these 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in the 2 stitches that we skipped. And we should be very soon here if I can get these loops through. There we go. We're going to show you the very first honeycomb shape. You can see just like that is formed. So now we're going to do that 2 more times till we have 3 honeycombs completed. Okay, skip the next 2, front post treble in the next 2 stitches. Now working in front of these 2 stitches, work front post treble in those 2 skip stitches. Now this is one of those patterns that it's extremely visual, and it's a good idea to step back every now and then and check just to make sure that it's looking like it's supposed to. I don't even want to begin to tell you stories that of projects where I've had to rip things out because I miscrossed a cable, either crossed it in the front when I should have crossed it in the back, and I just wasn't paying attention. So anyway, working behind these 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in those 2 skipped stitches. And I'm going to do it one more time with you. Skip these next 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2. This is our 3rd honeycomb that we are forming. Now working in front of these 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in the 2 skipped stitches. Skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2. Now of course working behind those stitches, we are going to front post treble in the 2 skipped stitches. Okay, and let's pause a second. And this is what you should have. Now I'm going to back out this just one step here of this treble because I'm going to go back to using my dark blue yarn, and after I pull that loop through, I'm going to go ahead and finish out the front post, back post, starting with that front post double crochet and then the back post. You're going to have 7 of these. I'll go ahead and finish these, and after that, those 7 front post, back post stitches, you're going to end of course with the front post double crochet and then a half double crochet worked in the top loops of that half double crochet from the previous row. Okay, let's go ahead and chain 2, turn, and we go on to row number 11, which is the same as row number 9, but I'll go ahead and work that with you. Half double crochet, and then we're going to work the back post double crochet and front post double crochet. I'll go ahead and work those until we get to the light blue yarn. After working those 7 stitches, I didn't complete the last stitch because I'm going to switch colors right like that, and then we're going to work back post double crochets across each of the next 24 stitches, which is the 24 stitches that form the honeycomb cable. So go ahead and work those. So after working those 24 back post double crochets, I haven't completed that last stitch. Let's go and keep this strand in front because I wanted to switch back to the dark blue color so I could work the remaining front post and back post. There's going to be 8 of these, so I'll go ahead and work those. After working those front and back post double crochets, go ahead and work that half double right there at the end. Let's go ahead and give this a turn and see what we have. So we can see this is coming out rather nicely. So now the instructions are for rows 12 through 19, you're going to need to repeat rows 8 through 11 2 more times. So row 8 started right down here. So we're going to repeat rows 8 through 11. So we are going to end up with 3 stacks of honeycombs. So if you need additional stitch support, go ahead and back up this video to where it says row 8. I'm going to have them clearly marked for you. Now the only difference is when you get to the 3rd set of honeycombs and you get to this repeat, the second repeat of row 11, I'm going to be switching back to the dark blue color, and I will show you that row. But go ahead and do this for rows 12 through 18, and then I will show you row number 19. After 18 rows, this is what you should have. Now we're ready to work row 19, which again is the last repetition of row number 11. Okay, you've done this a number of times, but the main difference, let's go ahead and start with that half double crochet. The main difference for this round is we're just going to carry the dark thread all the way across so that when you get, well, I will show you when you get to the honeycomb, we're just going to work it straight across. So go ahead and work those front post and back post stitches at the beginning here. So after completing the front post and back post ribbing, we're just going to work back post double crochets all the way across that 24 stitch section which makes up the honeycomb. So after working those 24 back post double crochets, we go back to working the front post double crochet, back post double crochet over the next 8 stitches, and then we end row 19 with a half double crochet. And let's go ahead and turn and see what we have. So this is what you can have if you decide to change the color for the honeycombs in the middle, or like I've said a couple times before, you can just maintain the same color throughout. Now from here, the instructions say for rows 20 through 25, that's going to be 6 more rows. We're going to be repeating rows 2 and 3, which is just the straight ribbing like we did at the beginning. So we begin with a half double crochet, and then we work front post double crochet, back post double crochet all the way across, alternating, and then when we get to the end, we make sure that we work a half double crochet in that last stitch. So go ahead and work those remaining 6 rows. Before beginning these 2 perimeter rounds, be sure that you change to your size H hook. Okay, this is size H or 8 or 5.00 millimeter hook. This is the smaller of the 2 hooks that you're going to need. So we're going to go ahead and chain 1, and we're going to immediately work a corner by crocheting a single crochet, chain 2, and a single crochet in that first stitch. We're going to skip the next stitch, and working through the top loops, we're just going to single crochet in the next 38 stitches across. After working those 38 single crochets across, we get to the last stitch, and we're going to work a single crochet, chain 2, and a single crochet corner, just like this, in that last stitch. Then we're going to turn 90 degrees to work across the ends of the rows, and we're basically going to have you work 38 stitches evenly all the way across until you get to the corner. And so now I have worked 38 single crochets evenly across. You may want to double check this, and just a note to those of you who like to change colors a lot, I would highly recommend that you stick with the same color as these other stitches for this round. The main reason for that is having it the same color is going to hide a multitude of differences. Whenever you do perimeter rounds like this, as you know, the stitches can look not as nice as they do in other configurations. So it just helps to disguise and blend in any differences where you put those stitches. Okay, so now we get to the first stitch of the foundation round, and we're going to go ahead and work a single crochet, chain 2, and a single crochet in that corner. And again, we can skip the next stitch and then single crochet in each of the next 38 stitches across. After working 38 single crochets across that foundation, we're going to work a single crochet, chain 2, and a single crochet in that last stitch. Turn 90 degrees, and then we are going to work again 38 single crochets evenly across the other end. At the end of the round, we're going to join with a slip stitch to that first single crochet of the round. Now don't turn, we're going to keep the front side facing, and the way we can do that is by slip stitching into that chain 2 corner, chain 1, and then go ahead and make another chain 2 corner with a single crochet, chain 2, and then a single crochet, and then you are going to single crochet in each stitch all the way around, and when you get to the chain 2 corners, you're going to work a single crochet, chain 2, and a single crochet. So go ahead and work this all the way around. At the end of the second perimeter round, we're going to go ahead and join with a slip stitch. Now go ahead and give it a chain and fasten off, because we're going to start using the darker, or at least I'm going to start using the darker color that I've chosen for my base rounds, which are the last 3 rounds that make all of these squares the correct size. So I'm going to actually join in a different chain 2 corner. I'm going to go ahead and the way I've been doing this is to make a slip knot like so. Hopefully you can do it smoother than I just did there. And I'm going to join my yarn and work the first corner. And let me also draw your attention to the base rounds. For this, we're using set I. And to do this, we are going to join in any chain space. Chain 1, we're going to work our regular corner, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, and then single crochet all the way across. Each of the sides should have 42 stitches plus the corners as you crochet across these. Okay, so in the end we'll have 44 stitches. Currently we have 42 stitches on each side, so we are on par to do this correctly. So let's go ahead and work round 1. So now I'm going to go ahead and make my single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet. I know this yarn is a lot harder to see. So we're just working single crochet in each stitch across, and the single crochet, chain 2 in each corner. So go ahead and do that. At the end of this round, we're going to join with a slip stitch to that first single crochet, and go ahead and do a slip stitch right to that chain 2 corner, so we can work around 2 of the base rounds. So go ahead and chain 1. Now, of course, if you're using different colors for each of these rounds, go ahead, you know how to fasten off and just rejoin in another corner. Just wanted to be clear about that. Okay, so after we do that chain 1, we're going to single crochet, chain 2, and then single crochet in each corner. Now this is what we're going to do differently on this round. We're going to skip this stitch. They're calling this the hidden stitch in the pattern. So we're going to skip that first stitch, and we're going to single crochet in each of the other single crochets all the way across to the corner. Once you get to the corner, working another single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in that corner, and go ahead. Just don't forget to skip the first stitch, which is the hidden stitch here, as you begin going across each side. At the end of this round, we join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet of the round. Now we're going to finish the final round. I'm going to go ahead and just slip stitch to that chain 2 corner, chain 1. Now this one's going to be a little different. We're going to work 2 single crochets, chain 2, and then 2 more single crochets for each corner. And then we are going to skip the first stitch there along each side, calling that the hidden stitch again, and then single crochet in each stitch across. So that's going to be the repeat for this final round. 2 single crochet, chain 2, 2 single crochets, skip the first stitch on each side right here after the corner, and then single crochet in each stitch across. At the end of this round, we join with a slip stitch to that first stitch of the round. Give it a tug, give it a chain so we can fasten off. Go ahead and leave yourself a generous 5 or so inches or more on the thread, and let's go ahead and take a look. This is going to need just a tad bit of blocking. I wanted to show you the finished product. We have the trim all the way around, and I just wanted to draw attention just to how nice this potentially uneven mess could be, because I stuck with the same color. Again, just encouraging you to do the same so that the awkward sides are kind of disguised there. Just in case you're not part of the from around the world 3 crochet along, you are welcome to join by just looking at the links below and clicking on those. You can join that. But suppose you don't want to make an entire afghan and you just want to make a pillow cover. This pattern will produce a 14 by 14 inch square that can easily go together with another one just like it, or maybe another one that's slightly different. And by slip stitching the 4 sides together, you can really have a nice pretty square for your any room in the house, really, and you can make the colors to coordinate with your own personal decor. Well, anyway, that's it for this particular square. If you did enjoy this, I just ask that you could consider subscribing. Just hit that little subscribe button up in the upper right hand corner, and you won't miss any of the projects that I have coming your way. Everything from intermediate to the very beginning crochet projects. Okay, God bless. Bye-bye.